So, can everybody hear me? Yes, would have been much better. Also for the rest of my talk, a little bit of that Californian interaction going on. First of all, I'm going to do this talk in English, as you hear. Mostly because my slides are in English. I know it's not a very good excuse, but I couldn't find anybody to translate them, and I'm not a native German speaker, and I thought it would be better to have well-written English than embarrassing mistakes all over the place. But if you can't follow it, you can always interrupt me and ask questions, or you can sit put, because after 45 minutes, the whole show starts over again, and maybe the second time you get it. Okay, so that's a scary place to be near. Can we do something about that, or? Okay, let's get started here. Yes, I'm going to talk about Google Gadgets and the Google Gadgets API. It's not a very advanced session. We're going to look into why you would build these things, how you would build these things, and a bunch of neat tricks that you can use to make them better. We've recently advanced the API a little bit, and there might be some stuff that even if you have been gone through our documentation for some while, that might be new. I'll start by talking a little bit about who I am. Not only because that's my favorite subject, but also I think it might make sense. So I am now a Google engineer in Zurich, our biggest European development center. My relationship with the Gadget team is a little thin. That is, I think it's about 2 years ago when we launched the iGoogle homepage. So we have this internal thing, ideas forum, where if you have something that you think Google should do, and you're an engineer, you can post there and say, we should really do this and this. And then usually nothing happens because, everybody has lots of ideas and nobody has any time, or, and then you can take it in your 20% time and all that. But anyway, it is still great fun to discuss about what you could do. Yes?
Talk a little bit more slowly.
I'm not very good at that. So, especially when I get enthusiastic about things like ideas. Anyway, so I saw this iGoogle thing, the iGoogle homepage, and I thought, it would be nice if you could create your own gadget and put them online. So I posted this idea, and then somebody, normally nobody would do anything with it, but then the PM on this product came back and said, that's a great idea, we should totally do that. So I sat down with an engineer, and we wrote a document on how we could do that, and we presented this document to somebody, and then unfortunately, I had to do something else, and I got lost at the whole project. And half a year later, they launched, and 2 years later, they're a big hit. So that's my contribution to the whole gadget thing. Unfortunately, it also means that when we get to the question and answering part of this talk, I might not have all the latest details on the things. Anyway, so why this screenshot? This is from my personal website. Before I went to Google, at some point I got very bored with having actual customers and having to talk to them. So I decided to put a bunch of random projects online. This is one of them, and in many ways it's like a gadget before gadgets were invented, and it's also like a mashup before, well, it was a mashup before Google Maps launched. Basically, it's create the news homepage of Google and then put it on a hand-drawn map. And the interesting thing about it is that this is, of course, totally against, at that point at least, the terms of use of Google. But it's also like a use of an API. So Google didn't really have APIs back then. But some Googler came across this thing and said, ooh, this looks interesting. We should either sue this guy for misusing our information or hire him. And they ended up hiring me, so that's why I'm here. Okay, so what are gadgets? Well, the most scary part, I think, is that they're XML documents. But they're basically small mini applications that you can use to package some functionality that you would otherwise put on a website and make this standalone and make it possible to... I still get a little of this. Make it possible to use this standalone functionality elsewhere, like on your iGoogle homepage, what it was originally for. But nowadays you can put it on lots and lots of places. We'll get to that later. So right now, the whole Google thing, the whole gadgets in total gets over, I think, something like 700 million page views a week. So that's like one of the major entities on the internet, and it's a very nice way to attract attention to something, and you can get a lot of traffic quickly. If you're here, I assume that you've all seen this sort of thing. It's basically an iGoogle homepage with all kinds of gadgets of various things. Some of them are built by Google. Some of them are built by other people, and you can go to this little gadget shop that we have to see. Oh yeah, so where do they live? Well, I hate to read the slide, and so I could make a point of trying to translate it into German, but since that wouldn't really work in this case, I'm not going to. So we're just going to walk through. So the iGoogle homepage is the obvious candidate. Then third-party websites. We have this little tool. If you have a gadget, it's from you can go there and configure it, and then you get a little bit of HTML that you can paste on your blog or whatever on your own homepage, and then that gadget will appear there, which is a great way to redistribute your functionality. Nowadays, it also runs on the Google desktop, of course, because that's basically where the whole thing started with the old API. There is also the option of running it under Mac OS, except for that you need a little tool for that to convert them. So we're not supposed to talk too much about this slide, but I think it's still useful. Same goes for no, it doesn't. I thought there was also a slide. Oh, sorry, I'm confused now. Yes. So it also works on the. I don't know how relevant it is for this audience, but IBM has this sort of internal web portal toolkit. If you're a company, you can sort of build your own thing, and then you can also use Google Gadgets there. So for companies, that might be useful. So this is my favorite slide of this presentation. Spot the double one. Anybody? So some impressive statistics about how, so I said 700 million, apparently it is 800 million. And from the graph of it, that was like here, so, you do the math. So, the success of the gadget has been quite phenomenal, even surprising our wildest projections, I think I could say.
Why start it started 2007? Any clue? Christmas? It's Christmas.
Yeah, it seems like a long Christmas, though. I have no idea. But, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know if any of you know this Google Trend thing that we have. You can also stare forever at these graphs and have no idea why they happen. Sometimes there's a good reason for this. It could also just be the case that we change the way that we measure things. It's always very hard to because for gadgets, it's really, what is a page view? If somebody loads the whole thing and you have 15 gadgets on them, is that, and then somebody flips one of the gadgets, configures them. Now, maybe we change the thing that, before the whole thing would get a page view, and now only the thing that you, I don't know, that sort of thing. It's hard to measure this sort of thing. But nevertheless, it gives you, it's going to rule the world, obviously. I didn't say that. So, who writes gadgets? Let's do a show of hands here. Who wrote a gadget here? So, then, I'm less afraid of the questions at the end. So, then maybe we should move on to the next slide here and talk a little bit about how you would build a gadget. So a gadget is, like I said before, it's a scary XML document. I wish I had a laser pointer here so I could point at things. So it's basically, you have this XML header and you copy that. Then you have a section on the module preferences, you have a section on the user preferences, and you have the actual content of the thing. Now, it's very simple. Here you describe yourself or your gadgets, and this is basically what shows up in we have this gadget homepage where you can select gadgets, and you should make sure that this looks decent, because if people are just browsing around, or maybe they're bored, they're sitting in their Windows desktop, and they go like, oh, I'll add a gadget to my desktop. This is what they'll see, and so it better looks good. This thing here defines how you can configure a gadget. You don't have to do that. I mean, lots of gadgets are interesting, like quote of the day. You just produce a new piece of content every day. But you could. And so in this case, we defined a bunch of fields here. Simplest one here is, color. You just get you define it like, we have a name color. It's of the type string. And, we start with the value red. And so you get sort of this sort of form when people flip the gadget. And anyway, so the content in this situation is very simple. We just have a simple piece of HTML. We have HTML here, and we say hello world in red. Now, this wouldn't be as interesting at all if it weren't for the case that you can actually put JavaScript in here. And in the module preferences, you can specify that you want to have certain standard libraries that Google provides. And this makes it very easy, as we will see in a little bit, to actually build this sort of gadgets. So, on the risk of repeating myself, here are the user preferences. So one of the things that are quite powerful is the fact that you can specify things as a list, which automatically gets you this sort of Ajax-y, it's not really Ajax, but people like to call it that. Thing where you enter in the thing and you can add the thing, and then you have the little crosses there that you can remove them again. And it looks like you're quite a programmer, but the only thing you have to do is specify a list there. So here we have an example of some weird sort of gadget that produces a frog and has lots of parameters to show you what the frog looks like. It's very useful. No wonder how we get that many page views. So I want to. This is our new claim, that you can build this in 30 seconds. I'm a little afraid that it will take me more than 30 seconds to get the whole demo page there, because also I have to type here and see there. It's a little hard for me. But we'll try to do it anyway, and plus I'll just copy and paste the thing. Oh, look at that. I already have. And this mouse doesn't work. Well, I will have to do a little poke, which makes it harder. So maybe that's so. See, I'm already through this. Huh? No, it's okay. I have a little poke here. Anyway, so you just have to. Hey, look at that! I have this other thing here. You just have to believe me that you could type this in 30 seconds. And it's basically the same thing as... Indeed. But, so in this case, it's very simple. We have the hello world thing here, and it displays hello world. So we have this page. We have this page. It's on the Google API. Well, you can see the gadget, but if you go to gadgets, you have this scratch pad, and basically you can, experiment by typing in a little piece of what you would want your gadget to be, and then you can click on the preview button, and you'll see what happens. I lost my mouse. Oh, there it is. So. Okay, there we go. So if you preview here, indeed, it says hello world. Now, I think many of you might agree that this is not that impressive. But what we can do is change it around a little bit and add a map. Because one thing I've learned at Google is that if you want to build something cool, you have to put a map in there. Because then it's a mashup, and that's the same for the screenshot that I had originally. And that's if you have a map, it's nice. A map and an RSS feed. That's really where you want to go with your gadget, because it's great. So here what I did is, of course, I don't know who here is familiar with the Maps API. So okay, it's not very hard. So you just include this Maps library that Mesh wrote. He's doing a session somewhere else, so you should go there next, unless you want to see mine again. And then you just say, oh, I want to create a map, and I add the two of the controls, and I center on something that more or less Hamburg. And then if we go there.
Can you also type Hamburg or something like that? Will it work?
Well, we'll get to that. So now if we look at the thing, it's already a much more impressive, see, Hamburg, you don't even have to type it. Gadget. However, we'll add some more stuff to make it really more impressive. Wait, maybe we can, you want to try if I can add Hamburg Live? It's a little risky. Just because it says that I do a live demo shouldn't make me actually do it, obviously. So in order to add something like that, we would have to have a new function here, which I just copied from my Scratchpad here. Create marker. It creates a G marker, and I prepared this, so but you can sort of see, like, it puts the point somewhere. It puts a URL in there and a caption, and it creates one of those Google bubbles. So it puts a marker there, and if you click it, it will show you basically here. So it will show you a link with the caption, and you can close it again. And the other thing, obviously, we have to do is to put this on Hamburg. Anybody knows the exact coordinates of Hamburg here? Why do you ask? Sorry? 10 and 53. That sounds quite reasonable. Anyway, so now, oh, look at that. Now, after we create the map here, we're going to put the marker. So we create this point, and one of the tricky things always is that they switch the x and the y coordinates in maps. So I think we have to start with 53, but I'm not entirely sure. For that, you have to go to a mesh doc. And then, I don't know. So as a link, we put here, I don't know. So search for, huh? Yes, thank you. Now, show of hands, who think this will work? That's not very, Well, see, it's pretty close. And now if you click here, it will do a search for Hamburg on Google. See, now we have a gadget that is semi-useful. Of course, it took a little longer than 30 seconds. But we did a little more than Hello World, so I think we should be okay. So, what else is there? So, apart from the simple, straight-up stuff, we have a bunch of libraries that we want to go into here that you can include to make things that are hard a lot simpler. So recently we launched a tabs library, which makes it simple to create a gadget with multiple tabs. One of the important things is that if you want to convince somebody to put your gadget on his page, this person will have to make the trade-off between the screen real estate that he's, no longer having because you're taking it, and the functionality that you get. So if you can cram more functionality in the same screen real estate, it could be a better deal for him. So using tabs is one way of doing that. The other thing is that Flash embedding is obviously it's almost a natural combination because you have lots of little nifty things like games that fit in Flash. If you can easily put them in a gadget, that would be great. It used to be So we have a bunch of other things, but I think there's separate slides on them, so I'll talk about that then, because otherwise I don't know what to talk about when we get to the slides. Yes, so how do you do that? You add to the module preference a required tag and the feature that you will be requiring. So this could be Flash, or it could be the tabs, or shared maps, analytics, that sort of thing. And then you get access to this. Basically it expands into some sort of JavaScript include that gets you the right library. Yes, so recently, I think 3 months ago or so, we published numbers for the first time in a public way, where you could see how popular certain gadgets actually are. And you can go to the directory and you can see it for yourself. But if you add this analytics tag to the thing, then it will actually, how many here know about analytics here? Anyway, so analytics is it's a tool of Google that allows you to see what happens on your web page. And if you subscribe, you get a little ID. And if you paste the ID in here and then you put up a made-up URL here, then that thing, your gadget will basically be part of the whole analytics thing. And it shows up in your reports, and you can see all the nice things that you normally get, like the distribution over different countries, that sort of thing. It's a lot more useful than just having the thing over there. Embedding Flash objects. So this used to be the case. If you had your little Flash movie on XYZ, Flash video.swf, you had to put in all this code. And nowadays, if you do the require Flash, you get this little nice function, the _IG_, which is always the start of the library function, and you just put the movie there. And obviously, it's much more elegant, and it's way less likely to break, because if Macromedia decides to change some of the settings here, we'll make sure that we'll adapt it for you, and you don't have to do it yourself. Fetching remote content. So this is actually a quite powerful thing. Because as long as you have only static content in the thing, then basically what the user sees is always the same, unless you change the gadget itself, but that's a little bit of a hassle. And this way you can just basically retrieve an XML document or a RSS feed or a normal text thing. You can even screen scrape other websites. And we'll handle the whole caching, we'll handle the fetching, and we'll just, if you get an RSS feed, we'll even convert it into JSON, so it makes it for easy JavaScript consumption. And you can run with it. So there's 3 methods available. The simplest and most powerful in many ways is for RSS feeds. You specify the URL, you specify the JavaScript function that you want to be called back on, and you get a link, title, summary, and date for the thing, and you just go into maybe you like Slashdot or something. They have an RSS feed. You plug it in and you build your own little /dot gadget. You won't be very popular because lots of other people have done it, of course, but it would be a nice exercise. You can do the same for XML if you have data that is less predictably structured, and then you have to do a lot of the parsing yourself. Or you can even do it on text, in which case you have to do all the parsing yourself. But you could do all kinds of neat screen scraping there, even for sites that are not even yourself. I didn't say that. That's, of course, not what we want people to do. Here's an example on how you would do that with a thing. But I thought it would be more fun to actually do this in the gadget that we were just building. So let's see, where were we here? I think we're at the same point where we left. I lost my mouse. Oh, I also see that we only have like 6 minutes left. So that's not so good. Ooh. Huh? Huh? Or do we have... Wait.
We have more than...
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. So everything is okay. So I thought it would be neat to try to build this gadget that, this initial screenshot that I showed you from my website that I built like 4 years ago. If we could build that live here. So I just copy paste from what I have here because otherwise I have all these typos. So the only thing I add here is I add here this IG fetch content, and we get that here from the news.google.com. If you go to news.google.com, you do a search. There's a little button on the left side that says RSS or Atom, and you can just take that link and paste it in there. And there's lots of websites that have that sort of thing. And we also specify a callback, and the callback basically does. It's very simple here. It just says, well, if there is no feed, it says there's no data, and otherwise it says how many items we actually found. Now, it's not very interesting yet, but it's more of the demonstration of the thing that now it will say we retrieved 100 headlines. Very nice. Now, let's see if we can do something more interesting than showing the, actually what we want to do is show these headlines. The problem with that is that how do we go from headline to coordinate? Any suggestions? Well, I came up with a very dirty solution. Basically what I did is I have this little... So luckily, I had this other project where I had this news map and it didn't work the same way. So basically what I have here is, but it also, it shows you that, if you don't know how to do it, you can just stuff a huge JavaScript literal in there. Actually, the best way to do this, if you would do it for real, is put this thing in a XML document itself and also retrieve it separately. Because Google will do the caching, so you don't have to worry about the speed. And that makes it much easier for you to maintain this thing. So I just stuck it in there, and the basic entries are very simple here. So we have coordinate, comma, coordinate, and then a bunch of keywords. Now, instead of what we did before, alerting the thing, we now have the same loop here. And it's a little longer, so you can see it here. We go through the thing, and we just add the title and description, make it into one string. And then we go through the whole list, and we find if any of the keywords is contained in the title and description. If so, we say, oh, well, then, so it's the first thing that we see that contains New York, it's an American headline. And then we have the coordinate of the US, and we put it on the US. Well, actually, we don't do that right now, because now what we do here is, stupid thing doesn't scroll. So in the end, we say title is in location. Mind you, location is in this case not a location. It's the little string with the keywords. Also, what we do here is we fetch only 5 headlines. Otherwise, we'd get mad because we would have so many alerts going on here. I think it's an interesting exercise also that because it demonstrates that just by sprinkling alerts in your code in this sort of thing, you get a real grip on what's going on here. So now if you click here, it says China warns Japan over visit by Taiwan Lee. So it says it's in China. It might just as well have said that it was Taiwan or Japan, but China is first in the alphabet, so it gets China first. We find a whole bunch of other things here. This is in the United States, which is not true because it was in Iraq, but it's hard to say, right? It's an American soldier got killed in Iraq. So this thing is in Korea. Even though it's in the Philippines. But it's Koreans, that gets, it's hard to say. Anyway, so we have a whole bunch of these things. Now, we go back to the Hamburg thing. What if we could put this actually on the map? Now, of course, I've prepared for that too. Otherwise, this would be a sad demo. So we take the same code as before, but now if we, if we do find a location, we take the first two numbers of this tuple that we have in there, make it out of a point, and then use the e.link and the title that we extracted before, and put that on the map. And now, look at that. So you can now click this thing open, and it says, militia suspect of Britain's kidnapping. I'm sure that was also not in Britain, but in Iraq. But and something happened in is it Niger? Oh, Nigeria. So, and you can actually click on that and see what the article is. So,
why did it find Nigeria instead of the U.S.?
It's hard to say. Because this blob has the things in a certain order, and Nigeria starts with an N, and the United States starts with a U, so I kind of sorted it alphabetically. And so one of the problems with this approach is actually that if you look very closely, it doesn't show it in Nigeria, it shows it in Niger. But since Niger is contained in Nigeria, what are you going to do? Anyway, I thought it was just, it's just a demo. But when I heard that I had to do this talk, I thought I had to look at how hard it actually was, and it didn't take me longer than an hour or two to build this thing. So even though it has lots of little issues and stuff, I do think it demonstrates that it's actually quite easy to get on with this sort of thing. So what else do we have? Internationalization. So since we're in Europe here, it's usually easier understood that this is an important thing to do. But it is. I mean, even in Europe, there's many companies that think, oh, well, I cover my home language, Germany, and then I'll do English, and then, basically I have the whole world. That's not really true. On the internet, it's something like 1/3 of the people is native English speakers. The rest is, they probably do know some English, but Google is very aggressive in internationalization of things. You might think, oh, it's always the US that get things first, but compared to a lot of other companies, we really do take it seriously, and we try to get as many as our product in 40 languages. And we do see that if you do launch something in a new language, even if it's in Norway, where practically everybody does speak English, the uptake of the product increases enormously. And we have this sort of thing where you can create these little XML documents with, title and then the translation in English, and you do the same in Japanese. And then the user can automatically switch your whole interface into the other language. And if you want to add a language, you just add an XML document. It's very straightforward. Storing state. So one of the nice things about you can store state, of course, in the configuration, like we do here. We have a yellow note application here, and obviously we store with the color of the thing with a little drop-down thing, and it will automatically start. But if it's a yellow note, we also would like to see, that the next time the person goes back to this homepage of the Google homepage or whatever, that it still contains the same code. And we can do that by basically specifying a hidden field in the configuration, and then writing from the code itself to this hidden field. So that's what we do here. In order to make that work, you have to require the set preference field. And then if the user clicks save, you retrieve the preference object, and you just say, whatever is in the yellow note, put it in the text field. And the text field sits here. And it's like any configuration field for the user, except for that we put it as hidden, so the user doesn't actually see it. Caching external resources. It's also, so now you have this nice little thing, gadget, and it's very popular. You get millions and millions of visitors, and your website falls over. Not because of the gadget, because the gadget gets retrieved by Google once and then served to the user, so you don't feel that. But maybe the gadget contains an image or something like that, or a Flash applet, and this Flash applet sits on your website. So if you don't use this caching thing, you still you still pay for all the traffic. We have these 3 little functions that make it very simple to do that. So in this case, for example, instead of referring directly to this Flash URL, you say, give me the cached version. And the first time you do that, Google will actually go out there, retrieve the object, put it on one of our servers, return the URL to that thing. But the second time that this happens, we'll just give you the URL immediately. And there's some sort of, I think we refresh the thing every half hour. So instead of being hit for every time somebody pressed the refresh button on the Google homepage, now at most you get a hit every half hour. And we pay for the bandwidth, and you have all the glory. It's a good deal. Yes, I think now we are. Yeah, if we want to do some questions, we should probably hurry up a little bit. Yeah, distribution. This is really what it's all about, of course. I mean, typically for a gadget, what you want to do is you want to give a little bit of your functionality out there for free to people, and then create a lot of traffic and buzz, and draw them back to you. So in order to get this thing going, what you want to do is you want to make it as simple as possible for the user to get it. And we'd like you to use the Add to Google button, because it also shows Google in there. But one thing that is kind of interesting is that you can pre-configure the Google buttons by adding any of the fields that you have in your configuration screen as a simple ampersand key is value thing. And one of the nice ways of exploiting this is, I think which website did that? Some sort of social networking website. They wanted to have a personalized gadget that you could add to your thing. So what they did is they produced not a personalized gadget, but they produced a personalized button. So these buttons, if you logged in, basically you would get this button, and then you would get ampersand user ID is your user ID. If you add that thing to your thing, then you have your user stuff. You might want to look into that, where it's simple for your neighbor to copy your user ID and see all what you're going to do, but it's a neat trick to do this. Somebody teach me PowerPoint. Yeah, okay, so if you make gadgets, make sure your friends know about it. Also make sure that it looks good online, that you don't break it accidentally, and because people open their Google homepage, they see, hey, this doesn't work, they kill it, and you've lost a customer. So here are a bunch of URLs you might want to look into. If you have questions and you want to figure more out, this is by far, I think, the most important one. It's a discussion group where you can post questions, where there are a bunch of Google engineers that from time to time look at these questions. If they don't get resolved by the community, they'll put in something. If they come up with something new, even if it's experimental, they tend to announce it here first before the rest of the world get to know it. Obviously, you want to start with the API documentation, the top one, which also contains a little scratch pad that you can use to get started. Huh? Oh. Well, what we can do is, we can handle the questions and then leave this open for people that want to copy one or more of these URLs. Any questions?
Can I host them myself, or do I have to host them on Google?
What do you mean by hosting? So, actually, typically you host your gadget yourself. You can have it hosted on Google. There's a bunch of properties that we allow you to, like Google Pages, you could use that. But typically, you put the gadget definition on your own homepage. Then you register them by Google, and Google uses them uses them in the iGoogle page. But there's no reason why anybody else couldn't do the same thing. We just basically retrieve the document and then use it. You can put the definition of the gadget on your website, have Google retrieve it, and then go to this URL here, Google Gadgets for your web page, and find your thing back and produce the rendering and then put it on the same website or a different website or I don't know where.
Yeah, I was thinking about well, obviously it's going to put in a lot of JavaScript and HTML, so it's going to be a code generator on Google's side. I was just wondering, am I bound to using that on Google's side, or is that code generator actually something I can get my hands on?
The code generator itself, not so much. The generated code, yes. So basically, this is the Google Gadgets for your web page does exactly that. Instead of executing this code generation at render time, it executes it, puts it in a box, and then lets you paste this code in wherever you want to put it. something about Hamburg.
Is there any chance that this runs on mobile as well? Or in my experience, it's very hard to get these things running on mobile browsers.
Yes. So to some extent, I think some of them, I'm not entirely up to date here. I know it's something that we would like to, work better. But like you say, mobile browsers are not so good. But the iGoogle homepage does work for mobile, and it does show you some rendering of some of the gadgets. But obviously, the magic that we try to do here, maybe if the iPhone comes along, it will make it possible. But other than that, I don't think right now you get much further than seeing a bunch of graphics.
This is an issue with Google, or is it just something which may work but not really important to Google? Or
Sorry?
The mobile direction is.
No, it is very important to us, but we have only a limit. I mean, we're sort of bound by what mobile browsers can do, right? So if we can come up with clever ways to work around the limitations of mobile browsers, that would be great. But for now, it's mostly waiting until they get better. Anything else? Questions in German? Yeah.
The Maplet stuff is upcoming. This is similar.
Yes. So in many ways, Maplets are just specialized gadgets. They're gadgets that are, what we built just now is like a gadget. It's like a Maplet. Except for that, with a Maplet, you can actually combine them with many ways. So we could rewrite this as a news Maplet. And then you could, somebody could put a news Maplet on and weather, and you could see, what weather it was when they killed these people in Iraq. Sunny. Oh, yes, I should. You should all pay attention to what I just said and create your own gadgets and win great prizes. One of them is a visit to the Googleplex in Zurich, which is where I work. So you can have lunch with me. Yes, I hope that I've demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that it's actually not very hard to build these things, and I expect you all to skip the next session and run back to your laptop and try out. I see some people are already doing that. Yes. No, because in many ways, in the US, the whole gadget thing has taken off very, very hard, and here it's so-so, and there's no real reason why we shouldn't have this. We shouldn't leverage the same sort of thing to drive traffic to what we care about.
Yeah, but the US in particular, it's very popular in the US, and we have competitions there, and some nice competitions, and it's interesting that we are a little bit behind in that way in Germany, because actually the gadget is known for a while. On the other hand, iGoogle is getting more and more important, more popular. It's like what we said, that we have nice gadgets and we place iGoogle and people like it, you will get really the distribution. So that's the reason why I said we should promote the competition, because there should be more gadgets from Germany. It's my wish.
Well, I would also say that, you shouldn't do it for us. You should, it's nice if you win a prize, but you should really do it for yourself, because this is, it's free traffic. It's free advertising, and it's an excellent way of reaching new users. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, one more question, or you can do the applause.